हेलो फ्रेंड्स। आई होप आप सब लोग अच्छे होंगे। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक सी ए विवेक खुराना सर फॉर गिविंग me this opportunity to present myself in front of you, and I would also like to thank the CA Sansar team for doing this wonderful job, for giving us the opportunity to present the new topics in front of you all. So, without wasting much time, I would like to start from the session. The session for today is Ind AS 40, which is about investment property. I would also like to tell you one thing, that the Ind AS 140 is made out of Ind AS 16. So we have to understand the briefs of Ind AS 16, and then we will come to Ind AS 40. So we all know that the assets can be classified into two major categories, tangible and intangible, and there are some other assets like debtors, cash, prepaid expenses, etc. Tangible assets further can be divided into two categories, non-current assets and current assets, while intangible assets are normally goodwill, trademark, copyright, patent, etc. सो जब हमारे इंडियस या कोई भी अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड या आईएफआरएस किसी भी एसेट को रिलेट करता है, सो मेजरली कैटेगराइजेशन इज इन दीज कैटेगरीज ओनली. सो कोई ना कोई इंडियस इनमें से किसी ना किसी कैटेगरी को रिलेट करता है. When we come to non-current assets, we have two major categories, tangible assets and intangible assets. सो अर्लियर हमारे पास दोनों की अकाउंटिंग के लिए दो अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स होते थे. एक AS10 होता था फिक्स्ड एसेट्स के लिए, जो हम टेंजिबल एसेट्स बोलते हैं, एंड द अदर वन वाज AS26, विच वाज मेनली फॉर इंटेंजिबल एसेट्स. सो व्हेन वी स्विच टू न्यू इंडियस, सो जब हम नए इंडियस में आए तो टेंजिबल एसेट्स के लिए हमारे पास तीन अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स आ गए, इंडियाज 16, इंडियाज 40 and India's 105. While for intangible assets we have two major Indias, India's 38 and India's 105. So India's 16 is about property, plant and equipment. India's 40 is about investment property, which we are going to discuss today. And India's 105 is about non-current assets held for sale, which we will discuss in some other class. So before coming to what has been mentioned in these Indias, first of all we should know what this term Indias is. Indias is mainly the Indian version of Indian International Accounting Standards, which we call as IAS International Accounting Standards and IFRS International Financial Reporting Standards. As on date, there are 39 Indias which are applicable in India. Indias 1 to 41 are corresponding to IAS 1 to 41, which are International Accounting Standards, and Indias 101 to 116 are corresponding to IFRS 1 to 16, which are International Financial Reporting Standards. So when we come to accounting for fixed assets, or we can say tangible fixed assets, we have few major Indias which are covering these, or we can say few major IAS or IFRS. IAS 16, IAS 38, and IAS 40. These are international accounting standards which are related to non-current assets. And from 2003 onwards, new standards were named as IFRS by International Accounting Standard Board. So when we see this IAS 16, which is about PPE, property, plant and equipment, the date of issuance by IASB of this standard was 1982. When we come to IAS 40 or IAS 38, these standards have been issued late in 2000, while IFRS 5 has been issued in 2016. So what we can see from this is, till from 1982 till 2000, all of the property, plant and equipment, or we can say fixed assets, were covered under IAS 16 only. So for 18 years, all these assets were covered under IAS 16, but some need was felt for by IASB to introduce IAS 40. Now, to understand the need of introducing IAS 40, we need to understand what is the term PPE, which is mentioned as per IAS 16. So PPE include all tangible assets which are held for use in production or provision of services or rental to others or for admin purposes which are to be used for more than one accounting period. So मेरा कोई भी एसेट, फिक्स्ड एसेट लाइक बिल्डिंग, प्लांट, मशीनरी, फर्नीचर, फिक्सचर, जिसको भी हम या तो प्रोडक्शन में यूज़ करते हैं या फिर सर्विसेज की प्रोविजनिंग में, लाइक फॉर मी लैपटॉप इज़ अ फिक्स्ड एसेट, और फॉर रेंटल्स लाइक इफ़ आई हैव एनी व्हीकल और बिल्डिंग जिसको कि हम रेंटल पे यूज़ करते हैं, or for administrative purposes like head office of a manufacturing plant. So all these assets which are used for more than one accounting period are termed under the term PPE as per IAS 16. Now IAS 16, which was issued back in 1982, later on excludes two sets of fixed assets which are mainly investment property and non-current assets held for sale. So investment property, IAS 40, this standard is mainly relating to investment property, or we can say land and building, which we will discuss later. So before discussing that, we need to understand there are two models given in IAS 16. One is cost model and one is revaluation model. So cost model is basically cost minus accumulated depreciation minus accumulated impairment losses, and the resulting amount is called as carrying amount, which is taken forward in the balance sheet. And in case of revaluation model, we have fair value, which is equal to the carrying amount of the fixed assets which we take into the balance sheet. So as per IAS 16, their entity is have options to apply either of this model, either cost model or revaluation model. It is up to the entity which model does the entity want to select. So going forward, if we categorize the major assets of a balance sheet in terms of non-current assets only, so we can see that major classes of assets include land and building, plant and machinery, furniture and fixtures, equipments, vehicles, computers, etc. So take a pause for a few seconds and think about in which of these categories an entity would benefit by valuing its assets on fair value. लाइक इनमें से कौन से वो एसेट्स हैं जिनके ऊपर एंटिटी को फेयर वैल्यूएशन लगाने से फायदा होगा, मींस एंटिटी का प्रॉफिट कौन से कैटेगरी में फेयर वैल्यू लगाने से बढ़ेगा. So if we think about it, we can see that land and building are the only assets whose fair value exceeds the cost, while in all other cases, the fair value is lower than cost. Like we cannot sell used plant and machinery or used furniture and fixtures for exceeding their carrying amount. Carrying amount is further lower than cost, but in any of these cases, the uh, value of fair value would be lower than the carrying amount. While in case of land and building, the fair value would be higher than the cost, or we can say carrying amount. So, in only in case of land and building, an entity would benefit by valuing its assets on the basis of fair value. So, we can take one example. Now, there is one entity which is named as Fraud Limited. Now, I have named it as Fraud Limited just to give you an example like how this entity was operating from 1982 till 1999 when there was no standard relating to investment property. So, the entity has a manufacturing plant in Sydney which has reported a loss of $40 million. The entity further has a building on rent in London, which reported rental income of $20 million and fair value gain of 40 million. While the entity also has a land for capital appreciation in Delhi. Capital appreciation means the entity has purchased some land and has not used it, and it has only kept it for capital appreciation, like it will sell it in future when the value of land exceeds. So in all of these cases, the manufacturing plant has reported a loss of $40 million. Building on rent in London has reported a rental income of $20 million, while the entity has done fake valuation of its building and land in London and Delhi, and combining these, the fair value gain is coming to $140 million. So in net, the entity has loss of $40 million from Sydney plant, gain of $60 million from building in London, and gain of $100 million from the land in Delhi. So total earnings from these assets includes combines to $110 million. Now, many of these entities were reporting like these, that they have purchased some land or building and they have done its higher fair valuation just to avoid the other losses which they are incurring from their other assets. So to restrict entities from doing that, IASB introduced IAS 40 investment property, which provides that any land or building or a combination of land or building held for the purpose of rental purposes or long-term capital appreciation, an entity cannot do upward revaluation in these cases. So take a minute to understand. अगर एंटिटी के पास कोई भी लैंड है या बिल्डिंग है या लैंड और बिल्डिंग कंबाइंड है और एंटिटी उसको रेंटल पर्पस के लिए या लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल एप्रिसिएशन के लिए यूज करती है, तो उसकी अपवर्ड रिवैल्यूएशन अलाउड नहीं होती. Well, we see that IAS 16 has allowed us two models, cost model and revaluation model. So for these cases where an entity has any land or building for rental purposes or long-term capital appreciation, the upward revaluation is not allowed. So this was the reason IAS 40 was introduced to to restrict entities from revaluing their land building on which they were not doing any business. सो अपवर्ड रिवैल्यूएशन को रिस्ट्रिक्ट करने के लिए इन असेट्स की IAS 40 इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था. नाउ वी विल कम स्ट्रेट टू IAS 40. So IAS 40, as we have just discussed, it means an investment property which includes land, building or both, which are held for rental purposes or long-term capital appreciation. Now, rental purpose means that rentals can be earned from residential property, commercial property, or industrial property. It means that nature of property does not matter. Like if a builder has developed some residential properties, and instead of selling it, it is giving it to rent to others. So in that case, that residential property is investment property. Now we can see shopping malls around us. So it may be possible that the owner of the shopping complex does not sell its shops while it leases out on rent to the persons who want to start their shops in that shopping complex. So in that case also, the shopping complex would be classified as investment property. So there are some exclusions from Ind AS 140. लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग विच आर हेल्ड फॉर सेल अंडर इंड AS 105. सो जो भी एसेट हमारी हेल्ड फॉर सेल है जिसको हमने कभी बिजनेस में यूज़ किया था बट हमने उसको अब ऑपरेशन से आउट कर दिया है, तो वो सारी हमारी इससे एक्सक्लूड हो जाएंगी. Owners occupied property, which means land and building used in production of goods. So by default, that those properties are excluded from India 16. Any property developed by real estate company for sale in its normal course of business, so that will be classified under India's 2 inventory. Land or building used in agricultural activities, we have a separate India's 41 for such land and building. And for extra land used for extraction of mineral oils and mineral ores, so we have separate Indias specifically for those lands. Now, there may be a case where the land and building or the building used is partially used for the purpose of business while partially it is leased out to the other entities. So, in case those portions are separable, like we have one separate portion or one separate floor used for business and one floor used for investment property. So, in that case, we will apply India's 16 on the portion which is used for business, and India's 40 shall be applied on the portion which is used for investment property. For property which is inseparable, now IASB says that any property which is used for both these purposes but cannot be separated, like we have same floor and on the same floor some portion is used for business while other portion is leased out. So in case the portion used for business is less than 20%, मीन्स हम अपने बिजनेस के लिए 20% पोर्शन भी यूज नहीं करते, in that case the business property portion let out is more than 80%, in that case India's 40 shall apply. While in cases where the portion used for business is more than or equal to 20%, in those cases India's 16 shall apply. Now there is one interesting exception to the leased out properties, which is if a property is let out to employees on rent. नाउ अगर हमारे पास एक प्रॉपर्टी है जो कि एक जैसे कंपनीज होती हैं, लाइक कोका कोला, इफ कोका कोला लीजेस आउट सम प्रॉपर्टी टू इट्स एम्प्लॉयज, so in that case if employees are residing in that property would be termed as owners occupied property only, irrespective of the fact whether employees pay any rent or not. So that property would not fall under India's 40. That would be classified under India's 16 only. There may be some cases where land and buildings are let out along with ancillary services. So ancillary services means that land and building is let out and there are some other services also, like in case of hotel industry, when we go to some hotel, so the ancillary services include hotel industry, uh, uh, in hotel industry like room servicing, room cleaning, there may be some breakfast as well, there are AC services, there are cleaning services, bed, etc. So in all these cases where the ancillary services are significant, so the purpose of that property is not to be let out individually those assets or land and building, but to provide a hotel services as a whole. So in those cases, India 16 shall apply. While in case the ancillary services are insignificant, like if we let out any flat or a property and we provide security guard also with that property, so in that case, India's 40 shall apply where ancillary services are insignificant. There are some cases where entity can say that land is held for undetermined use. Like entity has some land, but it is not clear whether the entity will use it for business or for letting out. So in those cases, such land shall be treated as investment property under India's 40, implying that upward revaluation to fair value of that land is not allowed. So there are some of the ways in which an entity can acquire investment property: separate acquisition, self-constructed assets, exchange of assets, and purchase on deferred credit or finance lease. So in case of separate acquisition, we have to add purchase price, import duties and taxes, like if we have imported some material or something like that, stamp duty, brokerage which is paid, any other direct expenses, and reducing it by trade discounts, rebates, etc. For self-constructed assets, we have to add the like for self-constructed buildings mainly, we have to add the cost of material consumed, any employee salaries, labor, wages, transportation handling charges, transit insurance, professional fees like valuation fees, depreciation, etc. Less, we have to reduce the sale proceeds from sale of products and also reduce the estimated cost of removal and restoration. Exclusions for costs include startup cost, advertisement and promotional expenses, operating expenses for the vacant properties. These costs are not included in the cost of any investment property. Like if we have incurred any expenses on opening ceremony of some mall, or advertisement expenses have been done in newspaper. So these costs are not part of cost of acquisition of investment property. We come to the next topic, which is exchange of property. So in case one investment property is exchanged with others, so in that case, the fair value of whichever asset is more evident, like the asset given up or asset received, it is recorded as the cost of investment property. However, in some cases where the fair value of neither asset given up or neither asset received is clearly measured, or a transaction does not have commercial substance, so in that cases the asset is acquired at the carrying amount of asset given up. Purchase on deferred payment terms. So in those cases where we have made partial payment today while partial payment will be made on some other date, so in that cases the element of interest is excluded from the cost of assets. So transaction price minus cost of assets minus finance charges is the cost of fixed asset or the investment property. And in case of finance lease also, the fair present value of minimum lease payments is calculated as the cost of investment property. So we also may incur some subsequent expenditures, like these expenditures can be of two types. Some of these are general repair and maintenance, like whitewashing, etc., AMCs, insurance premiums of building. So all these expenses does not lead to increase in the value of investment property and expense through profit and loss account. While those assets which leads to increase in the value of investment property, like uh, replacement of walls, replacement of floor, change in interiors, replacement of lift, all these expenses are capitalized in the books of accounts and not charged to profit and loss account. So as we have discussed that in India's 40 only allows cost model. So cost model is mainly cost less accumulated depreciation less accumulated impairment loss. Investment property cannot be revalued upwards. However, fair value may be shown in the notes to account. So an entity has given this option that you may show fair value of the assets in your notes to accounts, but not take it to the balance sheet. So it may also be possible that we transfer the assets from one use to another, like an asset previously held for use is now used for investment property, or vice versa, or in an investment which was uh, held for the purpose of sale as inventory but could not be sold, and now it is leased out as an investment property, and vice versa also. So in all these cases, transfer from one index to another will be made at carrying amount. No previous remeasurement will be done under previous index. So if an entity is using its building for operational purposes, it has to transfer it to the investment property index on the basis of its carrying amount only, and it is not possible to just revalue it before transferring it to index 40. So this is the last topic, disposals of investment property. So disposal of investment property can be done in two ways. One way is selling prices collected in lump sum, or one other way is selling prices collected under installments. So in case the uh, selling price is collected in lump sum, so in that case difference in the selling price and carrying amount, which is profit or loss, is transferred to profit and loss account, while the selling price in case of installment sale would be present value of the cash flows which are expected to be received in future, and difference would be charged to profit and loss account. So this was mainly about investment property. Investment property is just summarizing the entire concept. Investment property is land and building which is used for the purpose of rentals or capital appreciation, and in all such cases we are not allowed to revalue the investment property upwards, and we have to carry it in our books on the basis of cost only. So this is about investment property. In case of any further queries, you may contact me, CA Mayank Agarwal. I am qualified chartered accountant, and I have also done certification in IFRS from KPMG. These are the details. You may let me know, and please like, share, and subscribe this channel for getting more of these videos for your further knowledge. And once again, thanks to CA Vivek Khurana sir and CA Sansar team for giving us this platform to present ourselves. And also for as a viewer, I would like to thank you for giving your precious time for understanding the concept. And in case you have any further queries, you may contact me on these details. Thank you. Thanks a lot.